let's actually jump to nutrition now, because obviously we massive massive proponents of whole foods, plant-based diet. And I remember you were saying that you got into it specifically for animal rights, and so how long have you been now plant-based now for?
I stopped eating meat in April 2010. And then over in the next year and a half, I started to cut out things like fish and, other, animal-based products and stuff like that. Took about a year and a half after that. But so it was April 2010 is when I stopped.
So over a decade now, yeah? It will be over, it will be over a decade. And when you're looking back, was it a good decision? I bet you say it was, yeah? Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Like at first it was like it took me a while to kind of learn about eating healthier foods, because I'm definitely into I like my junk food, man, and there's a lot
I know you're posting some that like ice cream and treats and things like that. Yeah,
there's a lot of awesome stuff out there. But it was learning about, because when I ate meat, to me a vegetable was like maybe some carrots and a potato or something like that. I mean, I didn't eat greens, I didn't eat, I've eaten a lot more, fruits and greens and broccoli and other fruits and vegetables and things like that, that I never really ate a lot of in the past. So it was learning how to eat healthier. And then I went really extreme for a while, and I like went raw vegan for a while, and I was just
eating, I remember.
raw.
I think you were raw for some time.
Yeah, for a while, and it felt really good and stuff. But then I missed like burritos and things like that. So I came back to I didn't honestly didn't think staying raw long term was a good thing to do. I don't want to talk about like the health or the scientific side, because I'm just not into that. I've always been a little bit more intuitive, but it definitely didn't seem like something that I would want to sustain while trying to do things fairly athletic and stuff like that. But I could see where it might have its place if you're trying to really clean up your diet a little bit, or if you just want an abundance of energy for a little while. So I've been at the extremes of that, and then I've also gotten a little bit too, like when I dipped my toe back into powerlifting for a while. I started entertaining a little bit too much of the junk food, and then I've kind of found a happy little medium where I eat healthy a lot of the time, and I still enjoy the things that I want to enjoy as well. So that's kind of where I'm at with it now. But
what's your eating day look like nowadays? Let me walk you through.
It's pretty simple, man. I mean, I'm always kind of like, because I get up really early and I go to bed way too late, so I'm always like frantically rushing out of the house to get to work or to jujitsu in the morning. So I don't really eat a lot in the morning, because I'm usually like on Mondays, like this morning, Mondays and Wednesdays, I have jujitsu at 6:30, so I don't like to eat before I train. So I usually have a couple sips of my coffee and drink some water. And then I go train. And then usually on my jujitsu days, I'll go for a run after training. I do my conditioning after my jujitsu. So like Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays are kind of my conditioning days. Right now I'm doing a lot of running, focusing on improving my aerobic capacity and my heart rate variability. And then typically after I train, then Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays are the days that I lift. So after training, I always have some sort of protein shake. Usually, like I just keep some tubs of protein on hand at the gym, and we've got a refrigerator in the office, so I keep some non-dairy milk in there, usually some oat milk or something, some almond milk or something like that. And I'll usually just make a protein drink. I supplement creatine, so I'll usually throw some creatine in there. And then the rest of the morning, I usually just snack on some fruit. I usually take a couple pieces of fruit to the gym. I'll have like a banana, an apple, maybe some mixed berries or something like that. And that's usually my morning. So usually it's coffee in the morning, then a protein drink after training, and then some fresh fruit. Lunchtime, I usually come home, or my wife and I go to lunch. If I come home, because my wife works from home, so a lot of times she'll order like something off of like Uber Eats or something like that from like a local restaurant. Like today it was like Mediterranean, so it was like mixed vegetables, some rice, some baba ganoush, some hummus, some falafel. Sometimes it'll be like a poke type bowl with like rice and vegetables and like tofu or something. We'll go out to lunch periodically, and it'll be like there's a sushi place that we go to where I usually get like a vegetable sushi roll. I get an avocado roll, mixed salad, sometimes like a miso soup, some tea. So there's some Mexican places that we go. So that's usually like vegetable fajitas or something like that, or vegetable tacos. There's this place we've known lately that has these amazing like avocado tacos that are delicious. There's a couple specialty vegan places in the area that we frequent a lot as well. And if you see on my Instagram, sometimes I'll post up when we go to those places. So that's usually like lunch. Afternoons are usually another coffee. And then I keep some like protein bars and things like that on hand. If I just need a quick snack, I'll try to keep some nuts. Just something that I can grab quick because I'm so busy with appointments. I can't really sit down and eat. I also keep some, I keep a jar of peanut butter and some bread and stuff in the refrigerator at work. So if I need to, I can slap together a peanut butter and jelly sandwich or something like that just for some quick food. I sometimes, if I just need something fast, I might throw together another protein drink in the afternoon. Usually that's just protein and water, just to get a quick hit of protein. And then I'll usually make some food when I come home at night. That can be anything from, if there's some leftovers from lunch, which usually there isn't. I might make, if I need something fast, I might do like either like a veggie burger or a Beyond Burger or maybe some Gardein. I'll eat some of like the processed or frozen, vegan food. Some of the faux meats or something like that I might eat. Sometimes I'll make some like pancakes or some oatmeal. It's just something that's quick, something that's easy to do. A lot of times I always have a green smoothie in the evening. So sometimes I'll just have the smoothie and I won't eat anything else in addition to it. The green smoothies I do strictly for the nutrition, to make sure that I'm getting a lot of my vegetables and fruits covered, because I don't eat a ton of salads. I like salads. I just don't like making the time to make them the way that I would want them. So unless we're going out to eat, I very rarely eat, a lot of salad. So what I'll do with a green smoothie is I mix up a lot of greens in it, like some kale or some spinach, broccoli, I'll some chard or something like that. Usually 2 to 3 cups of greens. And then I usually go with a cup of mixed berries. I go with a frozen banana. I throw in like some ground flax seeds, maybe some wheat germ. I'll put a scoop of creatine in there. I'll throw a scoop of protein powder in there. Maybe some nut butter, or I'm trying to think what else I might throw in. That's usually about it. I'll throw some powdered turmeric in there. I might throw some cinnamon or some other spices. So I try to get a lot of, maybe some hemp seeds. I try to get a lot of high quality nutrition.
Yeah,
and then
absolutely.
I just hit blend, and I got like 40 or 50 ounces of this and it's quite filling. So a lot of times I'll just drink that at night, like as I'm doing the dishes or I'm taking my dog out, or doing whatever I'm going to do. Because it's easy. I can just sit there and sip that. So that's usually my evening meal. And that's pretty normal day. I drink a lot of water, a couple coffees throughout the day. I drink some tea if we go out to dinner or lunch rather. But that's a pretty normal day of eating. So, it's not a ton of calories, but it's enough to sustain my activity level. And I stay fairly lean. Like I don't follow any prescribed diet. I'm not trying to hit a certain level of body fat. I'm fairly lean. I got some pretty decent muscle definition. I'm not looking to get super jacked or anything like that. So it's enough. I feel like it covers all my caloric bases in that I've got good energy when I train. I got good energy when I do jiu-jitsu. I feel strong on the mats. I feel strong in the weight room. My runs are going pretty good. So like I said, I'm a pretty intuitive person. So I dial things back where I need to dial it back, or I'll add things in where I need to add them in. And I try not to get overly stressed about it,
Yeah, I think people are listen, I'm putting my hand up that sometimes I'm guilty of myself, that sometimes people tend to get over fixated on something they want to achieve, and sometimes it doesn't work like that. And it's like I said, I'm falling sometimes into that trap that I'm trying to, I don't know, reach some kind of a weight or something like that, and I struggle with that. But on the other hand, on the flip side, I'm asking myself a question: do I really need to carry that weight? Not really. Does it do anything to me? No, it doesn't. So why? But why stress about and things like that? So I think what you were saying, that you're choosing convenience as well, like you're saying, smoothies, and obviously smoothies are great. Listen, quick question on that, afternoon or evening smoothie, because obviously it's a big volume what you've got. You don't have to run to the toilet all the time when you're drinking that smoothie, because that's my that's my issue. I've got that's my issue, that when I'm drinking lots of lots of water and smoothies, I need to go back and forth to the toilet. You know what I mean?
I don't need to go back and forth with it, but I mean, I'm getting to that age where I do find myself waking up sometimes between like 2 and 4 in the morning, that I got to go take a leak. As
welcome in the club. Welcome in the
club. But I do try to, at least for about the last hour to 2 hours before bed, I try to limit the amount that I'm drinking, just because I don't want to be, having to go to the bathroom. But I'm in a position right now where it's not super healthy, but my dog wakes me up usually after a few hours at night. We've got a senior dog who, he'll get me up sometime. Sometimes it's around 2 or 3. Sometimes he sleeps, later to like 5 or 5:30. But sometimes he's got to get up like in the middle of the night to go out. So I'll take him out, and then I'll go to the bathroom then, so that I can go back to bed and not wake up with a full bladder. It's inhibiting my ability to get like a full night's sleep and get good quality rest. But it's the decision that you got to make, when you're taking care of these animals and stuff. So it can be frustrating at times, man. It's hard, but it's not going to go on forever. So you just keep that in mind.
It's for the higher cost as well. And how many hours of sleep normally do you hit, like usually?
I mean, I'll be in bed anywhere from 5 to 7 hours, but sometimes I've got to get up after a couple hours and take my dog out or something like that. Lately he's been doing a little bit better and sleeping a little bit longer. So there've been a couple nights where I've gotten like between 5 and 6 hours straight. Sometimes it's like 2 or 3, and then I got to get up and I got to take him out. Then I get another, like, say, 3 hours. But I tend to be, and I'll get a little bit more sleep like on Fridays, because I don't have to be to work as early. And then on the weekends, I try to get a little bit more sleep, and I might be in bed for like 7 to 8 hours, on the weekend nights, but usually I'm getting up at least once in there to take him out or whatever. So I do try to get as much quality sleep as I can, but it's not always consistent, and I know that's not healthy, but you just got to deal with it. So.
I mean, I know what you're saying, because like I said, I've got 2 kids, and my daughter, my youngest, she's 6, but she sometimes, it doesn't happen very often, but obviously she gets up at night time, and you have to deal with that. And I always find, like I said, when what I found with myself, when I need to go to the toilet, I tend to obviously get it done, get back to sleep, and falling asleep. So my sleep doesn't get, obviously it gets disrupted, but it doesn't have such a effect on me later on. But like, for example, like you were saying, like with your dog, or I like dealing with the kids, sometimes I struggle to fall asleep, and I can feel actually later on during the day that it kind of, it wears me off. And and I know the following day I have to maybe stay in bed a bit later, because I usually get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, because I've got my like routine and meditation and things like that. So I'm in bed usually I think I'm in bed like by 9 o'clock, but reading the book and things like that. So I usually get like 7 hours and things like that. So that's what it is.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to follow and be like, it was straight, for me it was because my wife she starts her work at 6 o'clock in the morning, so obviously naturally she was always like going to bed very very early, and then I was like, I used to hang around downstairs watching some TV and things like that, and I was like thinking, no point. And like I said, I started going to bed early as well, and find myself, actually it's working better for me because I can get up in the morning, and I've got this time when my kids are still in bed, and I can spend some time like reading books and meditating and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my routine. Listen, do you still follow time restricting eating, TRE, at all? Or
Not purposefully. There's times where I just kind of accidentally, because I don't eat a lot in the mornings. So, it's probably like a few hours after I wake up that I'm actually getting some food. And sometimes it's even until like lunchtime or close to lunchtime. So there'll be times where it's like 2 to 4, maybe 2 to 5 hours after I wake up, before I eat. But the one thing is I do end up eating a little bit later most days because I do get home between like 8:30 and 9 o'clock most nights. So I'm usually having my smoothie like sometime around 9, but I usually end up going to bed between like 10:30 and 11. So I usually at least have an hour and a half to 2 hours after I finish my smoothie before I go to bed. So, it may fall under the guidelines, loosely, of time restricted eating, but because I don't have a super strict schedule, because I probably stay up later than I should, I get up earlier than I should, I don't have, it's not as dedicated of a TRE type schedule. The one thing I did notice when I did stick more to a rigid TRE, where I would maybe eat between like 8 to 10 hours, and then I would, not eat the rest of the day. My digestion was a lot better. I felt a little bit better when I would wake up in the morning, probably because I was getting, the hours of sleep I was getting was more restful, maybe. But I still do pretty good, with the schedule that I'm on now. And how a lot of times it is pretty suboptimal when it comes to sleep and stuff like that. You were mentioning like, kind of the energy, crash and stuff like that. I do get that in the afternoons, usually, particularly like mid-afternoon. There's times where I feel like I just can't stay awake, and I rely a little bit too much on some Death Wish coffee to wake me back up. So it's like I said, it's not optimal, but I got to be at work. I got to train people. And I got to do what I got to do, and I got to tell them not to do the things that I do.
Yeah. Sometimes. Actually, I wanted to ask you about it because obviously I remember like a long time ago you were like posting about Death Wish. So you're still, Death Wish coffee person, yeah? Because we haven't
I'm
got
a subscriber,
that,
bro. Yeah.
Listen, we haven't got that coffee in Europe. I can tell you that now. So I can only. I remember you were always raving about Death Wish coffee
like
and things like that.
Yeah,
but
it's good.
and
I'm not a dark roast fan, but their dark roast is delicious. It's a really good roast. It tastes good. And I just like their brand and everything they're about. They seem like really cool people, and so some of it is the branding, but their dark roast is right now. I will say, like, I tried their medium roast that they came out with, and I wasn't a huge fan of it. I did like the Valhalla Viking blend that Zach Wild was spokesperson for. I like that roast too, but just their regular, like the dark roast, their flagship roast, it's delicious. I really like it.
do you have your coffee like purely black, no sugar, nothing, just black coffee?
Yeah, so I'll do like sometimes depending on the coffee that because we'll try some different roasts as well. Like there's a Kona roast that we get that I do drink straight, because it tastes so good. But usually with the Death Wish, I usually put put a little bit of either a non-dairy creamer or like a little bit of soy milk or oat milk or something like that in there. Just that. Well, I mean, here's my afternoon one, so it's fairly it's a little watered down right now because I always do iced coffee, so it's a little melted. But I put a little bit in, just to give it a little bit of different flavor at times.
Have you ever tried yerba mate? Do you know yerba mate?
Yeah. There was a hip hop artist that I trained who was really into it back in the day. We wrote a book together. He's in a hip hop duo called Dead Prez. His name's Stick. Right on, man. Eat plants, lift iron. Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, he was
Listen,
really into the yerba mate.
listen, Scott. Before you go into that, I just want to refresh your memory. I don't know if you're going to remember that. I will refresh your memory. I was the person who wrote I was blogging in a Polish language, and I wrote an article based on this
Yes.
book. And Stick,
Yeah,
actually, I think he spoke to you. So I was this guy. And
I
obviously,
remember. Yeah.
when he reached out, I was like, I was telling to my friend who's actually sitting over there. I said, "Stick from that press," But I think by that time, obviously, because just to give you a bit of I think with the story where it went, I think I recorded him like a lengthy message. But end of the day, listen, who am I? Who am I? I think obviously he was looking for a more accomplished publisher and things like that. But listen, never know. Maybe in the future I might
Yeah.
refresh his memory and things like that. But
He's a busy guy, man. He's got a lot going on right
yeah,
now.
I don't.
We still stay in touch.
He's got a new book out, hasn't he? I think he's
Yeah,
got a new book
yeah.
out.
His five principles or something like that, I think. And
Mm.
I mean, he's published a bunch of books, and his wife as well. And they've got their own little, their own little publishing, website and company that they do. And I know he did some stuff. I think he helped launch the men's line for Lululemon sportswear or something. I mean, he's gotten into some pretty cool projects over the last couple of years. And I mean, we don't talk frequently, but every now and then he'll give me a call or shoot me a message, or I'll text him, and we'll just kind of catch up. And he's always doing something cool, man. And I noticed he was back on tour. Him and M1 were out on tour recently. And so he's got kids. He's got a life. He's got
He's a busy guy,
he's
businessman.
publishing.
Yeah.
He's a busy guy, and he's a genuine guy, man. He's a really, really good guy, really good dude.
So you were saying that Stick, he's more into yerba mate, yeah?
Yeah. He was always into it because he doesn't drink, coffee and stuff like that. So he was more into the yerba mate, the teas. So that's where I had learned a little bit about it. He's definitely more of a healthy, whole foods, plant-based person than me. I eat probably way more junk food than he does. But that guy, like, he really it's a lifestyle for him, and it's really cool. It's funny because I just texted him the other day. I saw Chris, actually, my jujitsu coach and partner. He sent me a video of, was it Method Man pulling a deadlift, 500-pound deadlift?
No joking. Was he having a spliff at the same time or not?
Yeah, no, it was Method Man. Look it up. So Method Man deadlifted 500 pounds. He's 51 years old, dude. He's
shit.
Yeah, he's at Crunch Gym. He's in his socks on a deadlift platform with a belt on, and he deadlifts 501, and it goes up easy. And I'm like, man, Stick's guy. So because we're fans of Wu-Tang, and he knows the guys and stuff. So I sent him
unbelievable.
I can't believe the video. I was like, yo, man, this is legit. He replied, he's like, I can't believe,
I can't believe, I can't.
Method Man looks good, man. He looks great.
Yeah, listen, I need to look him up because I remember obviously years ago, how high, him and Redman and smoking weed all the time. I can't believe, it's I need to look it up.
They're all into training, and like RZA's really into kung fu and martial arts. It's really cool, man. It's really cool.
Wow! Credit to him. Listen, I mean,
in fact, in the book, because it came out right around the time The Man with the Iron Fist came out. Stick and I would always talk about the movie and stuff, and he I think in the book he called me the vegan man with the iron fist or something like that. I was like, that's awesome.
I mean, that book. Well, like I said, when because obviously I knew about the book like years ago, and I couldn't get it here over in the UK. Actually, I got this book shipped from the States because I bought it on the Amazon US, because I think the Amazon UK, I think the price was just unbelievable, and I was crazy. Like. Yeah, listen, I read it. It was like, and because what I really like about this book, because it's like it's split into three parts. Because obviously you've got Stick, then you've got yourself, then Stick's wife, and it's just great. And I always tell I always recommend this book to anyone who wants to transition to a plant-based diet. If you're really thinking about transitioning into a plant-based diet, this is a really good book. I mean, this book is pretty good. I've got really there are really few people that I really admire in terms of this spreading this message. Yourself, Mike, John Joseph. and I've learned a lot from you guys. I've learned from I've learned a lot from in terms of the like nutritional aspect of the plant-based diet. I learned a lot from Brendan Brazier, the Thrive diet guy.
Sure.
And I think nowadays I'm looking at it. Wow, it's so unbelievable. You've got like people, you've got like documentaries like Game Changers and things like that. And because you're going to agree with me because like years ago, we're talking about like 70s, like veganism, vegetarianism was usually associated with like hippie culture. So like everyone smoking joints, we're into like, animal rights and things like that. Paul McCartney, the Beatles and things like that. And no one really give it, by that time, I think not really many people gave a shit about the healthy lifestyle and anything like that. Because obviously they did it for the animal rights, and that's obviously that's the noble thing, that's the most noble thing to do. And even I think nowadays, when like years ago when I started going to veg fests here in the UK, and still majority of the speakers were still talking about like animal rights and stuff like that, and there wasn't really many people talking about the nutrition and things like that. And I think it actually, it kind of, and I was always like, I was that guy because I stopped eating meat because I've got problems with eczema, and I was looking for something else, and that was my main reason. The health reasons. I wasn't into like animal rights and things like that. I really didn't pay attention to, but to me, I think that's nowadays loads of people are transitioning into that because of those health reasons, and and things like that. And I think it's great.
And that's great. Yeah, it's great because everybody's got their own reasons for doing what they do, or like what level they want to veg at, so to speak. And it's like that's probably the one thing. Like I'm not a huge fan of the quote unquote vegan community, from the like the ones that are like super vocal about it, that kind of bring in like it seems like over here in the US anyway, I don't know if this is the same globally because we live in a kind of a different political climate over here, but a lot of the vegan movement is really based around intersectional politics and social justice and stuff. And I'm like, whatever people's own causes are, that's totally cool. But veganism was always about animals, to me. And you get a lot of hate, or you see a lot of hate thrown, like for instance, because politics is such a big deal here in the US. There's people, it just tends that most of the people in the vegan community tend to be on the left, the progressive side of the politics. If a conservative person says they're eating plant-based, they get a lot of hate, because of their politics. It's like, forget the fact that this person is trying to minimize, and to me, eating plant-based, it was always about reducing the relying on animals for food or products, is about animal welfare, right? And then you get into these debates, like people will get, they'll argue about like how vegan you are, and that drives me crazy, because it's like, you got people who are vegetarian, you got people who are pescatarian, you got people who they might use dairy, or they might not, or they might eat eggs, or they might not, or they might eat honey. And there's so much hate getting thrown around there, and just not looking at like, look, this person's really trying to make an impact. They're trying to reduce animal exploitation. That should be like high fives. That's a good thing.
Absolutely, yeah.
And there's so much, and not everybody's like that, but I just tend to see, like with the vegan community over here, it's a lot of stuff that I don't like, because it so much from the political climate gets pulled into it, and I just don't like that, man. It's just like, I don't know, these last few years in particular have really been weird, just because of all the things kind of happening in our country, with all the protests and the violence and the politics, and it's really old and tired at this point. It's like, look, man, live your life how you want to live it, try not to hurt other people, and just do your thing, and just leave other people alone.
I mean, to be honest with you,
if somebody's trying to, shift a little more plant-based, man, congratulate them, man. Don't be like, you're not vegan enough. That's because it's like, I think it was Rich Roll's podcast a while back. I forgot who he had on there. They were like, nobody truly is vegan, because at some level you're doing something that impacts animal welfare, unless you're like living out in the woods totally on your own and you're making your own clothes and this, like Rich brought up the point, like if you pay your taxes, you're supporting factory farms. So at some level you're contributing something to animal exploitation. The point is how can I best minimize that,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that's what should be celebrated, and I just, I hate the whole vegan police. I hate, I just can't stand
yeah.
it, man. So
It's
usually, like, I don't
similar.
talk, a lot about it, and half the time, when people ask, I just say I'm plant-based, man.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the thing
Like
is
John
that
Joseph's the same way.
yeah, the thing is that it's I mean, here in the UK it's exactly the same thing, like you're saying, and what I don't dislike about this are people get some kind of a stigma that, obviously especially like the environmental activists, they'll give you so much crap, because for some people that they don't abide what they are saying and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I mean, listen, like my wife, she's vegetarian. I've got two kids, and the both, the rest of my family is vegetarian. They're not plant-based fully as I am. But I didn't want to, like I said, I did try to get my wife into that. But end of the day, she was saying like, I like cheese too much. And I thought I'm not gonna argue a toss with her. She doesn't.
Yeah.
She stopped eating meat because I took charge of our kitchen, so I started cooking. So naturally she kind of had to go because, like I said, I started cooking. But I remember when my daughter was born, where actually before we were thinking about having a second child, I said to my wife that I want our daughter to be raised with no meat. And she said, okay, I can go with that, but let's still have eggs and cheese. I said, right, listen, that's the piece I can make. Yeah. So, I can say that my daughter, she's 6 and she's never had meat in her entire life. She still eats eggs and cheese. And like I say, she's a tall, happy girl and things like that. But
Yeah.
I never gave my wife a hard time because, obviously I believe in animal liberation, things like that. But I'm not gonna. So what I'm gonna do? Listen, I'm gonna divorce you because you're not gonna go fully plant based as I am. You know what I mean? So that would be ridiculous and things like that. And even people, yeah. This I think it's more about education that because what like you're saying what those groups tend to do, it's like spreading more hate. And just to give you a bit
Yes.
of just give you a bit, I've listened to I think Joe Rogan podcast. I don't normally listen to, but I hear he had Rick Rubin on it.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, this music producer, I'm gonna listen to it. And I don't know if you've listened to that, but for it was a good conversation. But all of a sudden, Rick Rubin says that
Yeah.
he was vegan for 22 years and he felt absolutely shit. And I thought, oh bloody hell, that's gonna have Joe Rogan will pull his carnivore diet ammunition, slating
Yeah.
vegans and stuff like that. But the thing is that Rick Rubin didn't really say that what he was eating, but by the by the sound of it, he was like eating like loads of like junk and stuff like that. And all he
Yeah.
says that when I cut out carbs, all of a sudden I started feeling great and stuff like that, and I was
Yeah,
only
but the other
vegan
thing was
because
he had also, when he went back to eating meat and cutting out carbs, he also started exercising and started training. He
yeah,
wasn't
yeah,
he even said he would just lay on the couch and listen to music, and then he's eating vegan junk food on top of that. But then the diet gets shit on. And it's like you see that too. And I like Joe Rogan. I like his podcast. I think he's a cool guy.
yes, yeah,
I think he actually, like, he agrees on a lot of stuff that vegans would probably agree on. Like if you try to meet somebody in the middle, like, he doesn't support factory farming. He gets his own meat via hunting and harvesting
yeah,
himself, which, people may have issues with that, but whatever. I mean, he's against factory. So there's some middle ground there. It's like, okay, we can both agree on that. Factory farming sucks. I think people have more, there's more, and he seems like a cool dude, man. trains jujitsu. He's a funny guy. He's got interesting people. He does a great interview. He's fantastic at interviewing. And it's like most of my friends aren't plant-based or vegan. It's like, so what, do I stop talking to them because he eats steak?
That's the thing. Yeah,
it's stupid, man. You can only control what you do, not what other people do. And the thing about Joe is he does get a little anti-vegan at times, but I think a lot of that is in response to a lot of the shit that he gets from vegans, like on his Twitter and stuff like that. Because he had a great conversation with Russell Brand on his show, where Russell was talking to him about, his veganism, and Joe was talking to him about, hunting and why he thinks it may be actually beneficial for and they actually had a conversation like adults. It didn't devolve into this like childish, going back and forth and yelling at each other. And it was a fantastic conversation. I'm like, that's how you make progress, is by talking to people and not fighting with people. And it's like, and it seems like the vocal people, at least a lot of the vocal people that I see in the vegan community, they spew more hate than they try to educate, and the more they try to find common ground, and the more listening to other people, listen to other people, even if you don't agree with their point of view, listen to what they have to say, respect them, and they don't do that.
Yeah, I follow this guy. I like his channel on YouTube called Simnet Nutrition. Derek Simnet, I think he's from Canada, and he was like telling that like he was like doing like Q&A with the live audience, and he's got cats, and I think somebody put like a question in the like asking him, so why do you call yourself vegan if you've got cats? And he was like, well, technically, yeah, because we've got cats. Obviously, cats are carnivores and stuff like that. And I'm thinking, bloody hell, the guy he's good at good content and stuff like that. And all of a sudden, somebody gives him steak because he says he said he rescued those cats, and somebody all of a sudden gives him steak because he's got cats and he needs to feed them with meat. What the hell is that all about? It's
so stupid. And that's what I hate. That's what I hate about the vegan community. And that's what makes the vegan community look bad. It's so stupid. And that's what leads to people like Joe Rogan, making fun of vegans. Whereas he's friends with Russell Brand. Russell Brand's a vegan. He's friends with Rich Roll. He's had Rich on his podcast. He spoke to John Joseph.
Yeah, they are the must.
And he'll listen to, and he won't try to argue and say, no, you should do this. He'll listen to him and he'll say, hey, look, these people do fine on it. And you can't argue that. The one thing I did think was, where they try to say the diet is, what results in athletic performance, when they argue about stuff like that. Like he did have the guys from the What the Health documentary on, or the Cowspiracy documentary. Because Joe was a big fan. Joe was a big fan of the Cowspiracy documentary. So he had them on, and they started talking about, plant-based diets and stuff like that. And Kipper Keegan brought up, well, what about Mac Danzig, the MMA fighter who's vegan? And Joe said, well, he never won a title. It's like, well, neither did all the competitors that he beat who are meat eaters, so it's like, if you're going to say the vegan diet prevented him from winning a title, that's ridiculous. He was only at a certain level of he actually won the Ultimate Fighter season 6.
Yeah, he did.
He beat everybody on that show, ate meat, because they all gave him shit about his diet. And everybody he beat in the UFC were meat eaters. It's like, not everybody who competes in the UFC gets a title, and they don't get a title because of their diet. They get if anything, it shows that you can have a winning record in professional MMA and compete at the highest level while eating a plant-based diet. That's what it proves.
I think Joe Rogan's argument is, I think, specifically that applies to like combat sports and things like that, because you've got people like a famous tennis player, Novak Djokovic. You've got Lewis Hamilton. I think that they're plant-based as well, and they say I think Djokovic was himself saying that when he went plant-based, he improved his performance. I think Serena Williams as well. I don't know. She was plant based as well. But I think I think Joe Rogan's argument is always when it comes to combat sports that people like.
But the thing is, I think
he was always proponent of Charles Poliquin's thinking that, you remember Charles Poliquin was always saying that you cannot compete on the highest level if you are vegan.
Yeah, and Poliquin, and I was Poliquin was actually one of my influences when I first got started. I thought he was brilliant, especially when it came from training methodology and stuff like that. But when he started talking about nutrition, he lost me because he would use epidemiological studies, things that he would shit on in other aspects, but he would use it to make a case against plant-based diets. Like there was one study that he always pointed to. I think it was actually out of the UK where they said vegetarian diets lowered your IQ. And when they looked at the people, the vegetarians or the plant-based eaters, I forgot whether it was vegan or vegetarian or whatever, but they were consuming less than 15 grams of fiber a day. What healthy whole food plant-based diet do you struggle to get 15 grams of fiber? You would have an abundance of fiber in your diet. So that just tells me when you listen to these people that shit on plant-based diets, they don't control for that variable. It's like, what were they actually eating then? If you were getting less than 15 grams of fiber, you were eating a lot of vegan junk food. There's no way you were eating, fruits and vegetables and whole grains and, beans and legumes. There's no way you were eating that and getting less than 15 grams of fiber a day. I know because I have no problem getting like 50 grams of fiber a day. And I don't always eat a perfectly whole food, plant-based diet. So it just like, it always made me laugh. Like, it's like, what is this like vendetta these people get against, plant-based nutrition, man? It's insane. There's this guy, have you come across Kevin Bass yet?
No.
He's a pretty interesting guy. He's like a medical school student somewhere in the Midwest. I think he's like a purple belt in jiu-jitsu. He actually eats a mostly plant-based diet. I think he eats a little bit of fish, like sardines or something like that. But for the most part, his diet is pretty plant-based, and he's got himself pretty convinced that there's health benefits and ethical benefits and things like that to eating plant-based. He was doing an interview with this guy named Bart Kay, who's a New Zealand like carnivore type guy. I think he's a professor in New Zealand, and he's got this very cocky, condescending way of speaking. And I listened to a little bit of their conversation, and this guy Bart, like, he's everything that's wrong with the carnivore movement. He's like, vegetables are bad for you, they're trying to kill you. He said a plant-based diet, there's no documented science that shows that it provides any health whatsoever. He said it'll kill you faster than the standard American diet. I mean, and when you listen to his reasoning, because he says that something like 87% of people who go on a plant-based diet switch back to a animal-based diet because of catastrophic health deterioration. And his justification for saying that, is because they all cite really, really dramatic health deficits. And then I start thinking of all these like vegan influencers and stuff like that who, come out, oh, I'm not vegan anymore, I'm going back to eating meat, I'm going back to eating such. When you look at some of these people, it's like Tim Sheaf, the famous like Ninja Warrior competitor guy. He was drinking his own piss. He was drinking his own piss, and he was like following a raw vegan diet or something like that. It's like, no wonder he had nutrient deficiency. It's like, look at what these people are eating that leads to the nutrient deficiency before you make those claims, and I'm like, I had to stop listening to the conversation because, one, I just can't stand the way that it. And then it's like, if you look up this Bart guy online, like, you'll find all these Reddit forums where all these like distance runners are like, this fucking idiot was saying that, he's saying that you don't need to train for endurance to do endurance, that runners shouldn't, have carbohydrate. I mean, the guy's just a carnivore, moron or whatever, but he's pretty well educated academically. But yeah, it's just like, I don't even get into that shit because it's just so stupid to listen to. And it's like, everybody's out trying to prove this, that, and the other. And it's like, man, I just don't have the time to waste on that bullshit. All I want to do is train jiu-jitsu, lift weights, and run my business,
Absolutely, yeah. It's one of the things that obviously the social media and the internet are, good.
It's awful.
Yeah, and it's unfortunately, as I always say that, the internet, it's a great thing because, I mean, thanks to that, we can have a conversation now. I can be in the UK, you can be in the States. We can have a conversation. So that's a great thing. But the internet, it's like a big, it's like a big pile of garbage. And you just have to pick through the garbage to get to the quality. And unfortunately,
and that's fine. That's fine. But the average person can be overwhelmed when they're looking for information on nutrition, when they're looking, and it also leads to a little bit of confirmation bias. Like if you honestly believe eating nothing but meat and butter is good for you, you're going to look through all the information until you find whatever agrees with you. So then right on, man. If that's how you want to eat that way, dude. I don't care. I mean, it's no, I'm not here to tell you how to live your life and do what you want to do. You do your thing, I'll do mine. And if we're cool with each other, then we're cool with each other, man. That's that's all I care about.
I don't know if you I listened to this podcast called the Proof Podcast. It used to be known as the Plant Proof, and it's run by this guy Simon Hill, and he wrote a book called The Proof is in the Plants. It's I highly recommend that book. Really good book. But they always on about, because he's a PhD in nutrition, I think, and he always brings up the Paul Saladino, and thinks about his that Paul Saladino says that cholesterol levels don't matter and things like that, and all of a sudden now Paul Saladino includes veg with his food. So well, anyway, let's leave.
I mean, the thing is if you think the carnivore diet's the way to, then just eat that way and see what happens.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, why do you need to, and same with plant-based, it's like, if you think that eating plants is what, eat plants, man, and test it out, see what works for you, do it, try it out, make adjustments, whatever. But it's like, people want to be told what to do, what to consume. It's like influencers drive me fucking crazy. It's like, you need to consult Instagram to have somebody tell you what you should wear, what you should listen to, what you should eat, what you should do. Like, be a little bit more introspective, get in tune with yourself and see what resonates with you.
Scott, people are like that now. And, like you say, you are 47, I'll be 41 soon. I think we are
I guess it's
generation.
generational, because we didn't grow up with that, right?
Yeah. It's listen, it's a different generation. My son, he's going to be 13. And when I'm looking at it, and to me, when I was growing up, and bear in mind that I was growing up when there was still communist time in Poland, it's a different world. It's absolutely different world. That's a topic for another debate if you want to. But it's a generation issue, and I think nowadays, because of the access to social media, like you said, everyone can be an influencer. Everyone can, give you this, give you that. Like you said, Instagram bikini models and things like that. But people are, listen, honestly, young people are like that now. You need to tell them what to do. With my son, I need to tell him to do this, to do that. It's a generational. Listen, Scott, listen, I'm just looking. I think we've clocked 2 hours, mate.
I was just going to say to that point. I don't know if you were at 40, if you were part of Generation X, or if you were close enough to it. But I always laugh about Generation X, which was my generation, because Henry Rollins did a bit about it, a while back, where he said we had the distinction of being, we're the unique generation in that we had to have the distinction of being the generation that was more hardcore than our parents' generation and more hardcore than our kids' generation. And I always used to laugh about that, because we're the ultimate, fuck around and find out, kind of generation. But I guess, now these younger kids, they want to be told what to do. They want to be told, what to wear. They consult, the all-knowing, oracle of Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or whatever they're listening to get their info. And I guess it is generational, which is why I don't understand it. But I probably sound like some old fogey who was, I was laughing at when I was 13, right? So whatever.
Like you say, probably, things like, listen, just to give you a bit of an example, I remember when I was growing up in Poland, and we're talking like, early 90s and later on, and mobile phones weren't so popular. Mobile, how you call it in the States, cell phones, for you to have a mobile phone was like a bit of a privilege. And I used to have friends that what they did, like, honestly, I'm not kidding you. I knew people like that. I used to hang out with people like that when what they used to do, when they saw somebody walking with the phone, they used to run them, punch them, grab the phone. And that was the time when you could steal the phone, pinch the phone. And because it was times like that. And now I'm looking like, the generation of my son, everyone was walking with the phones like that. And I always laugh to my wife that, I say to her, listen, in our days, you couldn't do anything like that because somebody could steal your phone. And now, people like walking stuck with the phones, zombie phones, and unbelievable. Yeah, unbelievable.
Crazy.
Crazy. Yeah, crazy. Scott, listen, I've mentioned that we've been chatting for 2 hours, and I think I've got still too much, I've got stuff to cover with you, but I think 2 hours, I don't think we're going to call it a day. I don't know if you want to, ask me anything, or I think,
was there anything else you want to cover before we wrap up, or anything like?
I think I wanted to cover mindset. I wanted to speak to you maybe about music and things like that, but we can leave it for another. If you're happy, we can, do another one, maybe more about mindset and things like that, because, I knew you were like into Tai Chi and stuff like that. So that could be a good topic. So we can talk about mindset maybe the other day, and meditation and stuff like that. But we can talk about it at a later time.
It's like, it's always been a part of, what I do, and I always try to carve out a little bit of time to just kind of sit, and whether it's meditate or just, be a little bit more introspective or whatever. I think it's important for people to do that because, not a lot of people, the old joke is that when you spend time with yourself, you end up not liking the company. So I think, and I don't want to use like some cheesy term like mindfulness or, something like that. But I think it is important to just kind of sit and be, and just be present. And I think it's important. I think people should take at least 5 or 10 minutes a day and just do that. Just go, preferably if you can sit in some nature, but if you can just, like park it on a cushion or a seat somewhere and just kind of sit, and not have a goal, just be present and see what happens. I think that's a good place for a lot of people to start.
Good place. Yeah. Like I say, it's because, this could obviously go to a different, we can
do it at another time if you want.
Yeah, man. Like I said, listen, I'm gonna call it a wrap at this moment because listen.
Cool.
One more, thank you very much, and it was a pure pleasure to have a chat with you. Finally, after exchanging some emails, and we could have this chat. I felt that there are loads of things I can talk to you about and stuff like that. And like I said, I feel privileged that I could have come across in some time of my life. I could have come across people like yourself, like Mike. I could learn of, and then I can apply it to myself, and I can pass it on, and I can spread this message and get absolutely.
Well, that's the important thing, man.
I'm so much grateful.
Like we need to learn, and we need to pass it on too. So that's really cool.
Yeah, listen, I'm gonna call it a wrap then, Scott. Then at this moment, awesome. I wanted to thank you, everyone. We've done 2 hours, and I promise that we're gonna have another conversation with Scott, hopefully soon. And listen,
if people want to hear from me again,
if people want to hear that shit and everything like that, I feel. Listen, my next, I'll probably, once I've got this edited and stuff like that, I'm gonna try to get Mike as well, so that will be as well. But listen, we call it a wrap for this moment. Thank you, everyone, and and like I said, we're gonna have another conversation with Scott. Scott, listen, thank you very much for that. Then, all right, then, pal.
Thank you.
Nice one. All the best. Take care. Speak to you soon. Then, all right, then. Cheers, my friend. Take care.
Likewise, man. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye. Bye.